It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Kansas City Roos head volleyball coach, Coach Christi Posey. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching college volleyball?
Yeah, I think it started probably midway through my high school coaching career. I was at a small school outside of Wichita and had some rural kids, and we were having some nice success. Then wanted to move to a bigger school district because I wanted to put myself in a position where I just had a wide variety of experiences to then choose from and learn from, so that I could potentially be attractive to a college athletic staff. And so I knew that in order for me to do that, I needed to work at a higher level in terms of just a bigger group of student athletes. So I moved to Kansas City and was able to land a job in the Blue Valley School District, and coached. I coached volleyball and basketball and track and softball, and knew pretty quickly that volleyball was kind of my path. I was passionate about it and wanted to have that opportunity. So I was fortunate that came about for me.
Of course, what was it like getting to play volleyball and softball at Wichita State?
Oh, that's a long time ago, Brandon, but yeah, it was terrific that I had the opportunity to play two sports at the Division I level, because that was how you did it back then. And many of us were dual sport athletes because we could play volleyball in the fall and then softball in the spring. I actually had the same coach for both of those sports at Wichita State. And then while I was in the midst of that career, at my time at Wichita State, that was about the same time as a little after Title IX, and then they moved into Wichita State having volleyball in the for year round, and softball year round, and that's when I had decided to move and transfer to the University of Kansas, and had to choose. And due to a back injury, I kind of forced me into more of a softball experience than a volleyball experience. And so I finished my career at KU playing softball, but then had the chance to do fall softball and competitive spring softball. So actually I do have 2 years of eligibility left in volleyball, so I could do that.
Of course, what was it like obviously transferring to KU and playing softball?
It was terrific. I had some great memories with my time at Wichita State. In fact, a couple of kiddos from my team at Wichita State also transferred to KU. So just having that experience playing at that time it was the Big Eight, and got to play once again year round and traveled all over the place, and got to see some high level, teams, and competed against high level teams, and had a terrific experience, and then finished my career there playing softball, but then also getting to be an assistant coach the next year for softball, and then just got me a little bit of taste of college coaching and thought, maybe that was where I wanted to go.
Of course, what was that like, obviously, going into coaching at your alma mater of KU?
Well, it was a thrill, coaching at KU. Just because I had such a great experience there. I thought it was a great institution, had a wonderful time competing and being in the athletic department, and then getting to coach back there, or getting to coach at KU, mostly because of several things. So first of all, I got to coach with a colleague, and a terrific head coach, Ray Bouchard, and then got the opportunity to be in the Big 12. At that point, it was the Big 12 when I got to coach volleyball there, and then just working with and competing against high-level athletes in the Big 12. Traveling to Texas and playing Nebraska. Back then, all those schools were, in the Big 12, and some of my greatest thrills were playing in big time arenas, playing in the Coliseum at Nebraska, and competing and oftentimes having success there, throughout our career at KU.
Of course, what was it like getting into becoming a head coach on the high school level at Blue Valley?
Well, coming from a small town in Halstead, and then moving into the Blue Valley School District, and I started at Blue Valley North, which was I was there for 2 years before they opened Blue Valley Northwest, and just being in a larger community, a larger school district, pretty affluent area in Johnson County, on the Kansas side, and just then having the chance to move into Blue Valley Northwest from Blue Valley North. We just had a tremendous amount of female athletes that were really gifted and talented and eager for the opportunity to really compete at a high level. And so we had wonderful families and ample resources, like I said, and just high level kids that were competitive and were just kind of ripe with, I guess, my style and the demands that we wanted to put on them. And we had good success.
Of course, how was it like, obviously, being the recruitment coordinator for the Jayhawks?
That was great. I learned a lot. And then that put me in a great position to get the head coaching job here. But while I was there, KU was an easy sell for me because I loved my time there. And, if we could get a kid to come there during basketball season and we could get him in the field house, and we were playing a conference opponent in basketball and the crowd was at a fever pitch, and, with just such electricity in Allen Fieldhouse. If you haven't been, that needs to be on your bucket list, Brandon, and everybody else out there, because it's just a tremendous climate and atmosphere there. But anyway, I was shocked if we would offer a kid, and we had done that experience with them, they had been in Allen, and they would say no. And I couldn't believe it, because it seemed like it was a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you want to come here? There's so many awesome things. That was just one experience, but then to play in the Big 12 and to be part of our culture and all of those wonderful things. So I had lots of responsibilities in terms of the recruiting coordinator position. I got to correspond with our players or contacts, the recruit contacts. I got to call club coaches and high school coaches, who I really valued at the time, because as a high school coach, I had spent a lot of time with my student athletes, and I would see them in the lunchroom, and I would see them in the hallways, and I would see how they deal with younger kids. And so I appreciate, and I still do appreciate, high school coaches. I still talk to a lot of club coaches, but high school coaches are important because they get to see kids in a different light instead of just at practice and club experiences. So some of the other things I did at KU in terms of recruiting, I would help to facilitate the campus visit. We would put together some unique correspondence to try to really cater to that particular kid. One time I can relay an experience that was, I was able to utilize one of my former students at Blue Valley Northwest who was in graphic design. And he was tremendous in putting things together. And this particular recruit from Colorado, who I really, really wanted, she was into, she wanted to go into theater, into film. And so we had come up with a variety of movie posters on some of these, on a flyer that we, he somehow did it. He was able to put our pictures, like our staff's pictures, Coach Bouchard, Coach Stuckey, who was my colleague at the time, the other assistant, and myself, like in these movie posters, and that we would curtail it to this particular recruit's recruitment. And I still have those to this day, and I still think that's why we got her, because we were pretty unique in that, in our recruit correspondence. So one kid I really, really wanted, I found out she loved rap. And so I made up a rap about KU and her coming to KU. And so that was kind of fun and creative. And I still think that's the reason we got her. So, it takes all kinds of different things to attract certain players. And so, I've had some experience tried. Some of those have failed, but those are a couple of success stories.
That's very unique. What was it like, obviously, going into becoming a head coach at Kansas City Royal?
In Kansas City, just a little bit different. Obviously, we're not we don't have the same type of budget or resources that we did at Kansas. But I was just so eager and excited to have a chance to to run what I wanted to run, have my own stamp on that program. I was lucky to come at a time where I think that administration was eager for some change and to have some good energy into the program. And so I knew just that we were going to need to do it differently than we did it at KU. And so we just kind of, just buckled down and looked at the grassroots of how we wanted to kind of approach this and to build a program. We were fortunate. I had great opportunity to hire a colleague that I'd worked with at Kansas as a volunteer, Trent Jones. He and I worked on this together to become, try to put Kansas City on the map in the world of volleyball. And so he was instrumental in helping me with that. And, we had great assistance throughout our time together. And then just kind of have been able to build some things based on those early days, and certainly have tweaked things and changed some things, but still working hard to try to figure out how best to keep us relevant. We've gone through a lot of different changes in our conferences, and then clearly we've all been dealing with how to manage life in the pandemic. But I've been blessed to have great people surrounding me and have had the chance to recruit and coach some really quality human beings and players.
Of course, how did it feel to be in the Hall of Fame for Kansas volleyball in 2015?
Oh, Brandon, that was mostly because we had just tremendous success with our high school program. Like I said, I was blessed to have some really terrific female student athletes that came through there. And then, with the support that we had through the district and working hard and training I think, training well. We were able to have success, and we won 2 state championships throughout that time frame, and then having some success at UMKC. I think all of those things went into that particular award, and there were a lot of people that were responsible for that.
Of course, what are some of the accomplishments so far in your coaching career as head coach at Kansas City?
Oh, I think, we've as stated a little bit earlier, going through a couple different conferences. I think that's always a unique challenge. We've put together, multiple winning seasons. I think we've had the opportunity to win more than maybe previous programs have through here. We won a conference championship in 2014. We've been competitive in both the Western Athletic Conference and the Summit League Conference. I think we're always a contender to win a conference title. And then we've had some players who have just had some really nice kind of personal, individual accomplishments, both in the Summit League, in the Western Athletic Conference League, and then also in at the national level. So I think it's been it's been a great experience so far.
Of course, what has it been like coaching in the Summit League?
The Summit League is a different league than the WAC. Both leagues have high level coaches, quality players. The travel for us was challenging in the Western Athletic Conference, since we were close to the farthest team away from the Western coast, the West Coast. But I have wonderful memories and really created some wonderful coaching relationships with those coaches. The Summit League also has some high level coaches and certainly terrific players. And it's unique because we all kind of work in the same Midwestern recruiting pods. And so you're kind of fighting against each other a bit. And if you lose a recruit, you tend to see them down the road because they're going to, compete against you. But the Summit League is just a little bit different style, really high level ball control, I think. Volleyball IQ is very high. Once again, kind of the Midwest or blue collar type of student athlete that most of us recruit, and multi-skilled. So it's a battle every night, regardless of where you where you are in the standings. You're going to get everybody's best effort because we're all fighting, to get into the conference. We want to get into the conference tournament for sure, but then also put yourself in a position where you could win the conference tournament, because that's our ticket to get to the NCAA tournament.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've built so far for the volleyball program?
Sure, I'd love to. We really have built our culture on the 3 C's, which is connect, commit, and compete. And obviously we want the connection. We really preach a family atmosphere. We want our players to understand how connected they need to be, because we feel like that provides the greatest opportunity to work like crazy for each other. We do a program here, we call it Coach Connect. Every 2 weeks, we go through one of our coaches. All 3 coaches have take a class, and we meet individually. So our assistant coach, Will McCall, we have a program with him called Walk with Will. We have an assistant coach by the name of Zach Waring, and we have Snack with Zach, and then we have Coffee with Coach. And so those are 3 coaches go and have an experience, a 30-minute to an hour experience with each of our players in that particular class. Like I have the freshman this semester, or this 2-week period. And so I circulate through our players, and I go have a cup of coffee with them. and we just talk about anything but volleyball. And and then they'll do the same thing with Will. They'll take a walk around campus or a walk around the track, or they'll go get a snack with Zach, or they'll just, do different things just so that we're making those connections with each of our players to know a little bit more about them than just how they compete on the court. And then the next is the level of commitment that we hope to model our level of commitment to them, not only as players, but as humans, and understand the balance that we need to have as collegiate student athletes. And we want to make the commitment in the classroom. We want to make the commitment, obviously, on the court and then in the community. That's really important to us, to have some commitment back to the city of Kansas City, so we can do community service projects throughout the spring, because the fall is a little bit more difficult to do those kinds of things when we're competing. And then just compete like crazy. We compete against ourselves every single day. We compete against, obviously, our practice opponents, and then hopefully we are then taking that to the utmost level when we compete against our Summit League opponents and outside of our conference.
Who are some of the teams that you face in the Summit League?
We've got most of our teams are based in the Midwest. So we have all 4 Dakota schools: North Dakota State, South Dakota. We have Western Illinois. We have ORU out of Tulsa. We have the University of Denver. And then we have St. Thomas in Minneapolis is a new school that's been added to our league, and they competed for the first time in the Summit League last year.
Of course, what is it like, obviously, getting to face those teams like North Dakota and South Dakota State?
Well, it is a challenge, as I said, every time we compete against a Summit League opponent. We all know each other very, very well. Obviously, the opportunity to see film and know rosters and try to do as much prep work as we can to prepare for those teams. I think each team has its own style, and then you're trying to obviously take advantage of your strengths and compete against them and try to isolate the weaknesses that each team has and just go like crazy. And that's been demonstrated for the last years that we've been in the Summit League. We came over, I think, in 2020. We were, you just learn pretty quickly, okay, this coach really kind of prefers this style, so this is what we really got to pay attention to. And even within the recruiting world, we tend to see, hey, this coach really likes to go after good size. This coach really likes to play faster, and then try to curtail that. Now this year will be different because we've got several new coaches in the league, so it will be interesting to see how they curtail their team for their playing style, as compared to years past with other coaches in that same program.
What does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play college volleyball?
Oh, I think it's facilitated a lot by, there's agencies out there that are promoting players. There's certainly club coaches that are calling on their behalf or communicating on their behalf. And then players have gotten pretty sophisticated in their film editing and software, so they can send all kinds of film and highlights and different things. So those are really, really important, because we obviously were shut down during the pandemic and we were really reliant on video. But not only that, there are certain times in the recruiting calendar where we're not permitted to travel and be on the road recruiting. So then you're really dependent upon the video that players can send. And sometimes that's what outside of the region. You may get a video from a kid from Canada. You may get a video from players internationally. And so you're just working to try to, you and your staff trying to solidify those groups of players that seem to fit your style best, and then kind of zero in on those players. But I think kids that can put themselves out there and communicate with coaches in a certain region or a certain type of school that they want, whether it's the mid-major, travel, how far do they want to be from home? There's a lot of factors that go in, and I would encourage players to try to, start with a good list, but then kind of work their way down and narrow that so that they're not overwhelmed with the process, because it can be, it can bog you down and can be very highly stressful.
What does the official visit look like for those prospective student athletes looking to come to Kansas City?
Well, we obviously want to get them in front of their academic specialty, somebody in the program that is that's here on campus that can speak to kind of the ins and outs of that particular major. We obviously get them in front of our academic advisor and give them as much information about study halls and details of what a typical week would look like. And then show them around campus, show them facilities. We like to show them part of the city because that's we think it's a high attractive kind of a deal. Kansas City has so many different areas of interest. There's the arts community, there's the sports scene, there's a lot of social opportunities, and then of course the medical community is very high. We have a lot of businesses here, so we try to really take a look at what the recruit is interested in and highlight that, obviously, and be able to give them as much exposure to our student athletes that are already here so they can speak to the experience that they're having.
What advice would you give future college athletes looking to play college athletes and then go on to the professional level?
I would say take advantage of any opportunity they can to prepare and expand their repertoire of skills. I think the professional game is, whether that be locally, on our soil, U.S. soil, or in international leagues, is the ability to do multi-skills. Unfortunately, there are times where we have in this country kind of specialized so early that players are really good in one skill, but maybe not as skilled in other areas where the professional level really requires you to do that. And so we work hard with our players, and I know a lot of other coaches do too, in trying to expand their skill set so that they could be functional and even highly competitive with other student athletes as they compete for spots either on international teams or with our professional leagues that are happening now.
What advice would your future head coaches looking to get started in coaching college volleyball?
I think the main thing is to develop your own coaching philosophy. Would be the first and foremost thing I would suggest. And then I think network like crazy. Try to pick the brains of coaches that you have some contact with. And I think most coaches are open to having dialogue with coaches they maybe don't even know, because they can just speak to their experience. I think working some camps in different regions or different programs and so forth can always bring some exposure, and you can showcase your skills as a young coach to a potential future employer. And then just word spreads about how effective you were as a camp coach. I think determining what your strengths are and really try to expose those as best you can. And I think there's so many resources out there now that are for coaches, whether you're just starting or you're 39 years into it. I continue to listen to podcasts from different people, even the business world or the corporate leadership kind of experience. I think anytime you can get a nugget of wisdom and you kind of store it away so that you can modify it to whatever your needs are for your players or your team or your future team, can be really beneficial.
That's great advice. Thank you again, Coach Christi Posey, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the Kansas City Royals.
Okay. Thank you, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Brandon Sports Talk at Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Thank you again for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you. Grew up.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.